everybody, this is Dylan with Dylan Talks Tone, and today we're going to talk about what you do when you get a new guitar. Everybody loves a new guitar. New Guitar Day is the coolest thing ever. I got a new guitar this weekend when I got home from my trip from Colorado, and well, it was sitting there waiting for me. This is one I've been waiting on for like a year. We're going to do a full review on this guitar soon coming up. I want to talk about how you approach a new guitar. So a lot of times people will just pull a guitar out of the case, they'll start playing it, and then all of a sudden they'll just jump into a forum online, start complaining about all the problems with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this one and we're going to go through it from end to end, and we're going to look at some of the things that you should check on your new guitar, no matter where you bought it from, to make it yours. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is oftentimes they'll just pull the thing out of the case and immediately start fiddling with it. Don't do that. I played this guitar for hours this weekend, and I have not touched the setup at all. When we start messing with the setup now, in this video, this is the first that I've played with anything or checked anything. I just played the guitar for probably 6 or 7 hours this weekend. Unplugged, laying on the couch, just, just playing and strumming. And then also plugged into an amp because I've got a Catalyst 100 in the living room. Plugged into the Blackstar St. James in here, recording with the computer, playing with my little Fender micro amp, doing all kinds of things, just playing the guitar in different situations with different amps, with different stuff, unplugged, to identify anything that I do or don't like about this guitar as I am playing it. Because if you don't identify those things in playing context, sometimes you can have a little bit different viewpoint of it. Sometimes the guitar will feel worse than it is, or you'll find little issues. So I found one little thing with this guitar that I want to fix, but maybe there's more. We need to go through this in a methodical way so that we don't mess up our guitar setup. So let's start, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So after playing it, I found a couple of things. If you strum the guitar just normal, and you play it, you might not hear this. It sounds fine. It plays great, actually. It stays in tune. It does everything it's supposed to do. But as I was kind of just being a little bit more picky with it, kind of taking it to the next level, I was strumming one string at a time, like this. So you can hear that little kind of sitar-y kind of sound. On the B and the E string. So we need to fix that, I think. So if I was playing it just straight into an amp all the time, I would never have heard that. But to sit down on the couch, play it unplugged, be real critical, that little sitar thing might not bother some people. And it's a thing that it's kind of next level. Like, we really want our guitar setup to be very good. When you're playing it through an amp, you might never hear it, but it might affect tuning stability down the road, because basically what that is it's a little bit different angle on the fret slot. So what's happening is the angle of the fret slot isn't matched perfectly to the break angle of the string. It's probably angled back a little bit. So what I want to do is take my nut file and go in there and correct that. The problem is that that's going to change some of the other things in the setup. So what we're going to do is we're going to correct that problem in the setup process. I'm not going to just correct that problem, tune the guitar up, and go back to it, because it may mess up some other things, or it could mess up some other things. So let's go ahead and talk about our guitar setup. And we're going to do all the things that we would normally do in a guitar setup, fix that problem, and play. first thing you want to do in a guitar setup is check your neck relief. So I just fret the first fret and then fret the first fret that where it meets the body. And then I look at the gap halfway between. And I like it to be a little thinner than a business card, a couple of sheets of paper, which looks really good. This neck's going to be pretty stable. It's got carbon fiber rods in it, so it's not really going to move around that much. So that looks pretty good. All right, so then the next thing I want to check is the nut height. So what I'm going to do, now you can do this with feeler gauges, but it feels pretty good. Well, let's check it with feeler gauges. Let's do it properly. Okay, so there's a couple of different ways to do this, but what I like to do is take my thinnest 2/1000 feeler gauge. I like to fret the 3rd fret, and basically what that does is that pushes the string down here on the 2nd fret. It leaves a little gap here, and it determines the angle from here to here. So what I like to do is just make sure that we got a little air between there. It doesn't, as long as it doesn't bind up. We're going to get to the other side of the radius, so then we'll come in from this side. There's actually a little room in here on this side. There's a little bit of room, which is good, because what we have here is and I can actually see it now that I'm looking at it, the angle of the nut goes backwards a little bit. So what that means is that's causing a little rattle on the neck side of the nut, which is giving us that little sitar sound. So what we're going to do is, you see this angle of the strings right here? We want to make sure that the angle of the nut is cut to match whatever's this angle going down to, see, it's a little different for every string. We want to make sure that that is right for each of those strings. And I think these 4 are fine, but the B and the E are off. So let's go ahead and grab our nut files, and we're going to just fix that a little. I'm going to show you how to do it. So what we want to do is we want to have the angle match the string, okay? Now I'm not going to take a lot of material out of here. We don't want to do that because we don't want the string to get, we don't want the nut to get too low. But we're going to take this, we're just going to kind of match that angle, and I'm just going to give it a couple of passes. It could just be a burr in the nut from when they made it. Fixed. It's no longer doing it. Okay, so here's the E string. Grab my E string file. We might just be cleaning a burr out of there. It might not actually be removing material. Nice and clean. Perfect. Now, what if you don't have fret files like this? What you can do is you can save the clippings when you replace a string on your guitar, and then you can take your that clipping of that E string or that B string, go rub it on some concrete and make it a little bit rough, because again, we're not worried about filing these nut slots. All we're worried about is keeping them clean. And you can keep some of them in your toolbox, those clipped off strings. Now the wound strings are easy because they already have the grooves in them. And the unwound strings, just rub them on some concrete or something and get them a little rough. That way you can just kind of clean out the nut slots very gently to not change the shape or the depth or anything, but we just want to make sure there's no burrs in there. And now we're totally clean. The next step in a good guitar setup is going to be checking our string height at our 12th fret. And I'm pretty sure this is pretty close because this setup is pretty good on this guitar. But depending on what your specs see, and this is another thing, you know, you could go 4/64ths here to 5/64ths here, kind of varying them as they go up or whatever. But you've played the guitar all weekend, and now you know kind of what you like on that particular guitar or what the guitar can handle. Sometimes bad fretwork means that you have to raise the action on your lower strings a little bit. This one's actually really good. The fretwork is really good, so it's no big deal. But I think this is actually pretty good. I'm not going to actually mess with anything on this one. So then, because we did some stuff on this nut, I want to make sure that our intonation is still correct because if we changed where this breakover angle on this nut is, we've changed the entire length of the string just a little bit. Tiny, tiny bit can make a difference to the intonation. So now I'm going to get my Peterson tuner and a cable, and we're going to check that. All right, so intonation on the guitar is actually pretty good. It didn't really change because we didn't actually change the height of the nut. We just maybe got a burr out of there or something from manufacturing. Sometimes on all types of nuts, bone nuts, Graphtec nuts, this is a Graphtec nut, but there could be a little burr from the file or from the machine. It's no big deal. So we fixed that. So now the guitar is exactly how I want it. So when you get a new guitar, pull it out of the case, play it. Take some notes of little things that you do and don't like, and then just run through the setup. No matter whether it had a 55-point inspection or your guitar shop set it up a certain way, whatever, but it doesn't matter because your personal playing style and what is important to you as a player is going to be more important than what a spec sheet says somewhere. You know, a lot of times the action that I choose on a particular guitar, like I set up that Gibson SG Junior up there different than I set up this guitar. So, you know what I mean? Because you play it different. You use it for different things. So just because a spec sheet says something or just because your setup guy says it's right, if it feels weird to you and you have learned how to do it, which as you can see, it's not super expensive or complicated to do this kind of stuff. This tuner's a little spendy, but I'll leave this and a couple of other tuners that will work for this kind of setup, as well as some of the tools that we used in the description of this video so that you can buy them if you want. If you use those links, it does help us out a little bit. But what I will say is take the time to do this with every new guitar, whether you bought it used, you bought it new, whatever. I think it's really important, and it will get you into playing your guitar. You'll be more intimate with the settings. You'll know what's going on with the guitar. And then when you have a problem in the future, if you were to have a problem in the future, you'll be better off because you kind of know what's going on with your instrument. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and the like button. I've got a bunch of cool content coming to you this month. We've actually got some cool stuff coming out tomorrow, which we don't normally do on Tuesdays. So I think you're going to dig that about how pickups are made. So that's pretty cool. So we'll talk about that tomorrow, but I think you really dig it. And also we've got a full review coming on the Machine Gun Kelly Schecter. So this is a pretty cool guitar, as well as the St. James amp. We got a bunch of stuff coming up. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and the like button, little bell next to it, and we will see you very soon.